Good morning. It is Super Bowl Sunday at my house, and I'm looking forward to a good game. I also wanted to check in with you about a couple of things. Number one, I have read your growth mindset papers and your ask advice papers. They were all fantastic. You really captured those people in your lives and showed that you really understood the concept. So I was super happy and excited to read them. Second thing I want to talk about is the neuroscience of your brain on fiction, that assignment. It seems so awkward and weird to use concrete detail when you write, but let's talk through a few things just for a couple of minutes. Um, Number one, did Brittany Stinson's essay seem like over the top with the detail and the verbs? I think it did. However, the admissions committees for all of those Ivy League schools, and now she's up to like 7 or 8 admissions. I think she chose Stanford. Anyway, they were so impressed and I can only guess so refreshed at the detail and the engaging writing. They get a lot of empty claims like, I am a leader. But Brittany truly proved her claims that she was curious, investigative, and that she had a lot of critical thinking skills. And that is what detail can do for you. Hang in there with me. I'm not asking you to write like she did. Okay, she was 18 years old, and you're presumably a bit older than that. And so the pure headlong detail and excitement, you don't have to go that far. So stick with me for a moment. First of all, disclaimer, don't use that kind of writing when you're writing science papers or lab reports. Stick with the formulaic, facts only, nothing descriptive. Okay, but let's talk about in your other writing, and let's talk about the facts. Is the using detail, is that cheating? I don't think so. Stanford did a study that found that people remembered about 5 to 10% of statistics presented in purely mathematical factual form. Whereas when the same statistics were couched in the context of a story, people remembered 65 to 70% of that data. Same data. We are hardwired, like it or not, for stories, and we like to engage with each other on that mental level. So my next point would be, I'm going to ask you to sprinkle in that kind of detail in the rest of your papers for my class. Sprinkle, that's an active verb rather than, you know, there should be active verbs and sensory detail in your papers. That's more boring. So let me give you a couple of examples. When I gave the workshops for writing personal statements for grad school, med school, pharmacy school, and so forth, the secret weapon truly was that kind of detail and those kinds of verbs. And students have had incredible success using that in their statements. I continue to consult with them on the side. If you're headed off to one of those programs, you're welcome to contact me, but that's just an aside. I just do that in my office at school. Anyway, here, let me give you a couple of examples. A friend of mine, in fact, I'm editing a book for him as we speak. A friend of mine was an undergraduate headed for grad school, and he came to me with his personal statement, and it started out like this. I have come a long way in my life, both literally and figuratively. Boring. No offense, I love this man. He has an exciting life, but he certainly didn't express it with that. And so what we turned that opener into was this factual statement. I don't know how old I am. The day I was born, my grandfather planted a mango tree in our village, and people estimate that tree is about 35 years old. That's more interesting. Do you want to know more? You do. You want to know more than that empty claim of I've come a long way in my life, literally and figuratively. And so we just tell tiny little stories, and that is how we engage people and persuade them to let us have a job interview, or let us let us get ahead in the competition for scholarships and so forth. I cannot emphasize this enough. This is the secret weapon in writing, and I've been doing this for decades, And I can claim that that's true, but I can also tell you all kinds of stories. I'll only tell you one, and then we have to go. The story is this. Oh my gosh, this is so much longer than I thought. I love this topic. Anyway, a woman came to me, a young woman who had graduated a couple years ago from ASU. And she came and said, I'm applying for the MBA program at WP Carey. And I said, okay, let's get started. I'll help you with your statement. And she said, well, I sort of have a problem. My GPA is 2.6. That is a problem. WP Carey, one of the in the top 10 business schools in the world. And so we worked on what she brought to the table. And long story short, she told her story in a compelling way. She had done the work after graduation, taken on all kinds of initiatives and showed leadership and learned her trade. Ultimately, she not only got into WP Carey, she got a scholarship from the alumni committee. And so from coming from way behind to way ahead, and that was the secret. She had done the work, but she represented the work in a way that engaged the brains of her readers. I will stop talking. I'm even tired of listening to myself. I want you to know how important this is. It feels super awkward to use detail and verbs like that at first. Go ahead and be awkward. Nobody's going to see it but me. And I am going to say, yay, you are working on these skills, which we all have to do, learning a sport or any kind of a skill. So take care. I'm really getting fond of you guys. Just have a happy Super Bowl Sunday. I'll talk to you soon.